Okay, this is assignment 2, and in the first assignment, we took a look at some of the basics, creating layers and kind of drawing some simple lines, and how to work with the basics of dimensions and plotting. So in this one, we're going to move forward just building on our experiences and learning new commands to add to our palette. So I started a brand new drawing, and it depends on which version you have, whether you pick new drawing or that getting started big box. And then up at the top here, it's probably a great idea to save it right from the beginning, so you can either click on the big red A there and pick save, or the floppy disk icon is also here at the top. So I'll just go ahead and pick save. And then what you're doing here is you're navigating over to the folder that you want to keep it in so that you can continue to build your assignments. And so you're just going to call this one assignment 2 and pick save. And now that it's saved, we can start to work on developing our layers. We clicked on layer properties right there in the middle of the ribbon, and we clicked on here the new layer icon. And for this one, we'll keep it basic again. We'll call one of the layer objects. And then if you press enter twice after typing in objects, the other layer, I combined the text and the dimensions and just called it dim text, and then press enter twice. Now for this one, we're going to learn how to create a layer that has a line type. So we'll work with the hidden line type. So we'll just call it hidden, or you could use hidden lines, either way. So for those layers, we started to change the color, saying that you can click right on the word white and pick one of these colors. If you have a black background, you can pick some of these lighter colors, but I have a white background to make it easier for you to see the objects, so I'll use red or something else like that. So as long as you have different colors for each one of your layers, you can visually see that it's on the right layer, and there is a way of using color to represent properties that we'll talk about later in the semester. So for the objects layer, we're going to highlight the objects layer, and over here under line weight, as we did in the first assignment, we can pick on the word default and scroll down to 0.60. That's going to be a little bit nicer bold line to pick up the new objects, and pick OK. And then for the hidden layer, this is the new stuff, is for underneath line type. Instead of it being a continuous line type, we're going to click right on the word continuous, and you'll see that just that line type is loaded. So we'll click the load button. Now you can load these ahead of time, or you can load them while you're creating your layers, which is what we're doing. If you scroll down, you'll see that there are 3 different sizes for hidden. So let's click on the word hidden and pick OK. And then here in this dialog box, let's make sure that we click on hidden to change that layer. So we loaded it, but now we have to click on it to change the layer. When we pick OK, we'll see that that layer has the hidden line type. So we're going to start by drawing the objects. So we'll double click on the little sheet of paper to the left of the word objects to put that little green check mark there. And I believe we're all set to start drawing. If you look at the detail, and I'll go ahead and close out of this layer properties manager. If you look at the detail, it does have all of the dimensions that we need, but also in the book, if you're referring to the book, you don't need to use the book, but I'm working on a detail that's on page 52 and 53. And like I said, you don't need the book because I have the drawing posted for your convenience to look at. The beginning part of the book is talking to you about being able to look at a 3D image and picking up the 2D geometry. So I decided to bring these images into the video so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. And I have here the top view of this 3D drawing here. So we're going to be drawing the top or plan view of this 3D shape. And you can see that when something is angled like this, you really only see it as a flat piece. So don't be too concerned about that, other than practicing and looking through the book or online to see that there are projections of these orthographic views, which are really like flat views of the side view and the front view. And as we start to transition into 3D, we'll do more of that. But I just wanted to show you where the dimensions were coming from, because a lot of times we don't have all the dimensions in place, and we need to look around in the drawing to pick up where they are. So for instance, here it didn't tell us the overall dimension from the circle to the edge of this this right edge, but in the drawing here you can pick up different dimensions to get these kind of 1 inches that I did find based on this 3D view and some of the dimensions that you would find in there. So I am going to post the end result of what this video creates, and you'll be able to see exactly what you'll be working with as we transition to picking up new AutoCAD commands. Okay, so the overall drawing is 8, but we're going to draw a box that represents the center of this bigger circle and the right edge, and that box would be 6.5, and then this dimension is 3. So we can start the line command, and if you just click on the line icon, click in space, as we did in the first assignment, we are not going to click any points. We're just going to click that first point, pull your mouse straight down, make sure you have that green tracking vector, and just type in 3 and enter. And then pull your mouse straight to the left, making sure you have that tracking vector and your mouse isn't kind of pulling you in different directions. You can type in 6.5 and enter. And then pull your mouse straight up and type in 3 and enter. And then at this point you have a choice of clicking on close to close back to the first point that you pick. So I'm going to go ahead and either type in C and enter for close, or click right on the word close right there in the command line, and then use the wheel of your mouse to roll that up into your view a little bit more. So now we have something to work with, and like I said, there were so many other ways of doing this. In fact, maybe we should go back and practice a little bit with direct distance entry and redraw this part here. I think that would be good. Like, you'll see that there's so many different ways of drawing these things. So yeah, let's go back. We can take and click once on this line. Now in the first assignment we used the erase icon, or you can click on the delete key in the keyboard, or a kind of a nice thing is to right click and pick erase. That's another option. So let's go back and practice this a little bit. We know that this is 0.875 here from the top or the bottom, and then we have this little dimension of 0.375 and this one of 1.25. So we'll start the line command. We did say that there would be this object snap right there. So if you don't see that object snap, that green box that's going to grab onto that existing endpoint, then make sure down here that these object snaps are on in blue, that that icon that looks like a box that has to be blue and on. So click on that top right corner, pull your mouse straight down and type in 0.875 and enter. Pull your mouse straight to the left. Remember, we're not clicking. Type in 0.375 and enter. And then straight down 1.25 and enter. come back towards the right here, 0.375, and enter. And now we can't do the C for close, or else we'll go back to this top endpoint. So we'll come down to this corner, click, and then click. Now you still are in the line command, so at this point you can right click and pick enter, or you can just escape out of that. Okay, so that gave us a little more practice and also gave us that end. So the commands that I'm showing you are new here. The next one is called offset. So keep in mind that this line right here is the middle of this circle right here. So if you look at this drawing, the dimension from the center of the circle over here to the first line is 2.5. So there's a command called offset that will help us to create a copy of that line that is specifically 2.5 to the right, to the right. So we're going to be able to decide on which side to bring it. And so the offset command is in the modify panel. It's just two icons down from the erase right there. So go ahead and click on offset. Now this is where you really have to watch your command line, because a lot of commands will ask you to select an object, but this one asks you to type in the distance first. So start the offset command, type in 2.5 and enter. Now it says to select the object to offset. So that would be this line right here on the far left. I'm going to click on it. Now it's asking you to specify the point on the side to offset. So do you want it to go to the left or the right? So we want it to go to the right. I'm going to go ahead and click anywhere over here. And now we're done. Now notice it keeps us in the offset command, but I'd like to practice that with you so that you can understand it. So let's go back to the offset command, and later on we'll pick up different tools. So start the offset command, type in 1, that's the next line over, and enter. Select this new line that we just created, and then pull your mouse to the right and click. Now we still have a couple of other ones that we can use here. So I'm going to click on that line again and come over here and click. This would be the center of this small circle. And then I'm going to click on that line again, this new one, and click to the right, because I have another one right here that's between the center of the small circle and that line at the top of this angled surface or sloped. So here we are, we have some things in place, and we're ready to start possibly drawing our circles. We can do that. We can right click and pick enter or escape out of that command. We do have over here the bigger, well, we have two circles, right? Because we have a bigger circle that's a radius of 1.5, and it's because it has R right in front of it. And the smaller circle, or this one here, not the real smaller one, but this one on the left side, is a diameter of 1.5. So diameter is going to be the symbol that's a circle with a line through it. So if you see that, instead of typing in DIA, we have this diameter symbol. So up here under circle, we're going to click on the little arrow there and go to center radius. So circle and then center radius. And guys, this is where we want to pick up a midpoint object snap. You see how we have endpoints, but we want to pick up a midpoint, and that could be created or turned on right in the middle of your drafting. So you can click on the little arrow that's next to object snaps, making sure that icon next to the arrow is blue, so it's on. We want to come up into this menu and click on midpoint to make sure there's a check mark in front of it. You're setting up the midpoint object snap. And now when you click in your drawing to get back into your drawing, you can go to the midpoint. It's got that little triangular icon. Make sure that that's showing, guys, before you click, or else it will not be the center or the midpoint of that line. So go ahead and click there. Now we have a radius of 1.5. So at this point you can either type in 1.5, or you can simply pull your mouse straight up, because you have this kind of endpoint to click on here and click. Okay, so the smaller circle's diameter will go up to the circle drop down and down to center diameter. Again, we're going to click on the midpoint of this line and we'll type in 1.5 and enter. All right, so those are the two circles. Now I want to point out to you that usually if you double click on something, you get some kind of edit tool. So if this circle was not the right size, I could double click. Why don't you go ahead and double click on that circle? You'll get this kind of shorter form of a properties dialog box. And then if it wasn't the right radius or diameter, you could click right in here and change it and then press enter, and you'd see that it would update. Just wanted to point that out to you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use my escape key to get rid of the blue grips and that little dialog box. Hey, while we're here, why don't we draw this other small circle, which is a diameter of 0.625. So we'll go up to circle and down to center diameter. Now this is where you have to kind of be careful which line you're using, right? Because it needs to be the midpoint of this specific line, not these other ones right here for the location. I'm going to click and type in 0.625 and enter. So we don't really need this line anymore, and it might be better for us to get rid of it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it once, right click and pick erase. It kind of like just cleans up the drawing a little bit more. We don't even really need this one either. So I'll do the same thing. Click on it, right click, erase. I could have clicked on both of them at the same time. Okay, so we can use a couple of other commands I'd really love to introduce to you. One is called trim. So we need to trim here this inside part of the circle, this right here, because it's all one piece right there. So you will use trim a lot. It's right next to erase. It looks like a little scissor icon. You can go ahead and click on it. And then because of these newer releases, we can just go right to that line. And as long as you have lines that are intersecting that circle, those top and bottom lines need to touch it, then you can go ahead and click on it because it uses those as cutting edges, right? So there it is. That's the trim command. If you have an older version of AutoCAD, you may have to press enter to get to that point of trimming that line. But for the new ones now, we can just click right on it. And in fact, it lets us even erase lines. But we're done, so we can right click and pick enter or escape. All right. So at this point, I want to introduce to you a new tool that's very cool. And I know it's early, but in the semester, but I think it would be worth showing it to you. It's called tracking, and for these two small hidden lines, instead of offsetting and moving it to the right layer and trimming it and kind of building out those two lines, we can because these two hidden lines represent the circle that's in this 3D view. You see the circle, it's not a representation of anything with these circles or these lines. This circle right here, we can use the 3D view to see that the circle is a diameter of 1, which means we have this 0.5 from the center, 0.5 up and down. So we could have drawn like a line that went through and then offset at 0.5 and went through the whole building process. But instead of doing that, we're going to think about this. We're going to take the whole dimension, which is 3, right across. If it's 3 all the way across and this is 1, you can come to the conclusion that this is going to be 1 and this is going to be 1 between the outside line and where the hidden line starts. So let's do this together. First thing we want to do is go up to layers, and this is where we want to set our layer current, right? So I'm going to open this up so you can kind of see what I'm doing and make it look more like yours. So this layer properties panel is open. Right next to the word objects, you can click on this like kind of pull down menu and then click right on the layer that you want to set current. So we're ready to start drawing on the hidden layer. We're going to click right on the word hidden. So that becomes kind of the top layer or the one that you're going to be drawing on. Now, because we know that this line starts 1 inch from the bottom, we're going to start the line command, and now we're going to use tracking. Now with tracking, you don't click. You just rest your pointer on that corner and you pull your mouse up straight and you type in 1 and enter. And what it does is it helps you to track to where you want to start that line. So now you can pull your mouse over to the other line and click, and then right click and enter. All right, so let's try that again, but this time we're going to go 1 from the top of this line. So start the line command. You can right click to repeat the line, or you can go up to the line icon. Now we're not clicking. I mean, if you did, you'd just have a second line on top of the other one and it would be okay. But if you just rest your pointer on this corner, pull your mouse straight down, don't click. You see it leaves that little green alignment point there temporarily. Type in 1 and enter, and it just tracks to the next point. It tracks to the point that you want to start the line at. And then pull your mouse over here and click, and then right click and enter. Okay, so we're picking up a few new things in this assignment so that we can continue to move forward. And another kind of new thing here is to change the line type scale. Notice in this drawing the hidden line is tight, right? It's a little bit shorter dashes, and we could have used one of the other hidden scales that were loaded. But instead, we're going to change the line type scale for the whole drawing, because this is going to affect your center lines and your hidden lines, and it's based on the scale of the drawing itself. So this drawing is a little bit smaller, and it's a preference also. I mean, we could just leave it like that, but instead we're going to pick up a new command. In the command line, we're going to type in LT scale, all one word, LT SCALE, and enter. And you'll see in the command line that the default is 1. So let's just try typing in 0.5 and enter. See how it pulls it to be a little bit smaller hidden lines, and this is how it's going to print. So depending on the scale of your drawing, you may have to make this 48 if it's a floor plan, or something smaller. Now, because I think that this is a little bit too tight here, and I'm actually drawing this for the first time with you, we can right click and repeat LT scale, or type in LT scale again, and let's try 0.75 and enter. Yeah, a little better, right? It looks like what we need. So you can kind of tweak the LT scale depending on the scale of your drawing. All right, so we're creating this plan view, and it looks like we have everything in place here, and we're ready to start dimensioning. We'll throw the center marks in there later as we start to look at placing center mark. So we'll need to make a different layer current. You know, if we didn't, we could always select the object, drop the layer list down, and still get to those moving an object to another layer. I think we did that in the first video, but we'll do it again at some point. So here we can drop the layer list down and click right on dim text to make the dimension current. Dim text layer current. Okay, so let's think about how we want to dimension this, because I don't think we want to dimension it the same as is what's in the book, although it's up to you if you want to just throw on those dimensions. I'll start with something simple like the ones over here. So we can go in the annotation panel and click here in the linear drop down and click on linear. So over here I'm going to click on the top right corner and the bottom here right corner. Pull your mouse out far enough to put another string of dimensions here and click. Now if you notice, first of all, the text is a little bit bigger, but I'm not going to be too concerned with that unless everything starts to get crowded. We have a lot of zeros here, so we could change that individual one, but instead we're going to type in D and enter. D and enter is going to give us that dimension style that brings us to the dimension style manager. At this point, we're not going to create a new one for this one. We could just go ahead and click on modify, and then under the primary units tab, we're going to change this precision here to 0.00. While we're here, I did notice just now that the 0.375 and the 0.625 are of a different precision, and they don't have a 0 in the beginning, right? So it doesn't say like 0.625. So we're going to make most of them the precision of 0.00, and then I'll show you how to change them individually. So here, still in this dialog box, at the bottom left corner, you see where it says 0 suppression? We want to put a check mark in leading. Notice in the preview right there where it says radius 0.80, when I put the check mark in leading, the 0 comes out. And that's what's on this new detail. So put that check mark in leading underneath 0 suppression and go ahead and pick OK and close. All right, so over here we have a couple of other dimensions. We have the 0.875 and the 1.25. So let's go to linear and click here on the inside corners. Pull your mouse out and click for the 1.25. And then if you want, you can right click and repeat dim linear because you're repeating whatever the last command is. So go ahead and do that, or go up to the icon, making sure you're clicking on the corner of the object here and here, and also guys, making sure that you're clicking on the arrow of the existing dimension to line it up. We're going to have to do that again because we have to move the text. All right, so first of all, the text is a precision of 3 places instead of 2. So to change one dimension individually, you can click on it once, right click, go to precision, and change it to 0.000, just like that. Okay. So this assignment is leading me to introduce something to you that we will be using when we work with metric drawings, which are a lot larger, and especially floor plans. Just like changing the scale of your line types, we'll also have to change the scale of our dimensions and our text to adjust to the full scale, because we're trying to draw everything at full scale to make it easier to draw and to share files with other people. So right now I'm seeing that the text is just slightly bigger than what's in the assignment in the book. So what we can do is we can use the dimension scale to make it a little bit smaller, right? So let's do that together. Type in D and enter, and then click on modify. And now here in this dimension style dialog box, we're going to go to the fit tab. In the fit tab underneath the preview, you'll see use overall scale of. What this does is it takes the whole dimension, not just the arrows, not just the text. I mean, there's too many people that are going in and changing all these individual things when you can just change the overall scale. And let's just try 0.75. 0.75. Later on in the semester, you'll see that there's a chart you can use to kind of get an idea of what to use. But at this point, we want the concept. 0.75 because we use that for the line type. Let's go ahead and pick OK and close and see what it does. See what it did? It made the dimension smaller and it looks more like what the book dimensions are. I like my dimensions just a little bit bigger, but you know, we're matching the book and it's a personal preference sometimes too, to get that scale down and what you want to be able to read also. Like some companies make the text a little bit bigger because they know that there's going to be like smaller check sets. So this might be a little too small, but it's what it shows here in the detail. And so let's continue with our dimensions. We can go ahead and start the linear tool. And for this one, we want to click on the corner, inside corner here, and then the bottom right corner and pull your mouse down and click. Let's place the dimensions and then we'll change the precision as we move forward. So the way that the book is showing us to dimension this is to dimension to the center of the circle here. So let's make sure that we have the center object snap on. We can click on the arrow just to the right of the object snap icon right there and pick right on the word center to make sure that the center object snap has a check mark in front of it. And now we can go over to click on linear inside your AutoCAD screen there. And then the bottom right corner is the beginning of the extension line and then the center of the circle. You can pull your mouse down and click. So we can keep dimensioning. I see that the book does not show that dimension. We'll stick with some of what the book is showing, like the dimension from the center of this bigger circle over this 2.5. But we'll have to put the dimension of this center piece because we only have the 2D geometry and not the 3D. So let's go to the linear tool. We'll click inside this bigger circle here and then the bottom of the line 2.5 over right there. Now we want to line this up. So to line it up with something that's existing, I'm going to go over to the existing dimension arrow and click right there. And then I'm going to right click and repeat the dim linear and throw in this dimension of 1 from here to here, and then click on the arrow here of the 2.5 to tie that in. So these are some of the dimensions. I think we should also establish an overall dimension, and just so you know, if and maybe you've already learned this in our field, if this circle has a radius of 1.5, that really means that from the center of the circle out to the outer part of the circle, it's also 1.5. So we won't really need that dimension, but I'd like to throw an overall here. So let's go ahead and click linear, and then at the top right, we'll click here, and then we'll come over to the center of the circle and click. Pull your mouse up so that we can get that 6.5 and click. All right, let's go back and change here that, no, we have another one. So first, let's go and get our dimensions for our circles. So underneath linear, it's going to look a little bit different than the handout, but that's okay. We're going to stick with the defaults for now in our second week. So we'll go underneath linear, we're going to click on radius right there. And then we'll click on this bigger circle on the far left and then pull your mouse out and click. Okay. And now we have a couple more that are diameter. So we'll go back underneath linear. Notice that when you use one of the tools that are underneath one of these drop downs, it becomes the top one. So if you're looking for linear, it won't be there at the top. The radius will be there. So click on the arrow, come down to diameter that's underneath linear, and click on this smaller circle on the left side. Pull your mouse out here and click, and then again it's the top icon, so click on here diameter over by linear, and it looks like we have one here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the circle and pull it up right here and click. I know it's a little bit different location, but that's okay. All right, I think that would give us then the dimensions that we need. The other dimension, since we don't have the 3D, is like where are these lines, these hidden lines. So we could throw in a couple of dimensions here. Let's go ahead and click on linear. I'll click the bottom of this line, and where the hidden line starts, pull my mouse out and click. I'm going to right click and pick repeat dim linear and get these two, the distance between the two hidden lines, and then again make sure that you're lining up with the existing dimension and click. All right, I think if we really take a good look at this, we have the circles, we have most of the dimensions. There is one more dimension that there are actually a couple more, but I think that if we move this 6.5 up, we could pick up the dimension from here to here, which, guys, wouldn't normally be placed because it's an angled line, but because we're only going to have the plan view, we'll throw it in for people to see the dimension there and move forward. So click on 6.5, click on here just once, click on the inside the little grip, and pull your mouse up a little to give yourself a little more room to put these couple of dimensions. I'm going to go over to linear and click here and here, pull my mouse up and click, and I guess I'll throw this other one in too. Right click and repeat dim linear. I'll click here and here, and now I have I think if someone's reading this without the 3D drawing, if you see any other dimensions I might have missed, just go ahead and put those in. I think that when you're reading this print, these look pretty good. You'd be able to figure it out. All right, and then one more thing I'm going to introduce in the second week is how to change the dimension of the text height. Oh yeah, let's go back and change the precision of these two. That's right. So click once on the 0.38 dimension, right click, go to precision, and change it to 0.000. It pops it out there, which is fine because that actually looks pretty good. And then this one, I'm going to click on the diameter of 0.63, right click and pick precision 0.00, and it should then say diameter 0.625. All right, now if it happened to be that this was too far and it was overlapping this line, you really could click on it once, click inside the grip here that's close to the text, and then have the option to move that around a little, make sure that it's not overlapping one of those lines. So we want it to be, clean. There is a whole conversation about center marks for your drawing. Yeah, since we use these dimensions here and we already have a center mark, for this assignment, we're going to use the center mark that's inside the dimension style. So as we move forward, I'm going to show you different options. And for this one, let's type in D and enter and click the modify button. I just want to show you that over in the symbols and arrows tab, we do have the center marks that comes with the dimension. The only time you're going to see it though is when you place the radius and diameter dimensions, right? Because it comes with it. So for this one, let's go ahead and click on line. And if you look in the preview, you'll get not just the mark, but the mark and the line. And we may have to change the size, but let's take a look. Pick OK and close. And there it is. So we'll keep it as that. This is using the center mark that's inside the dimension style, and it goes with placing these dimensions. And later in the next couple of assignments, we'll have a situation where you need a center mark without this kind of dimension, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, this looks pretty good. I think we're ready for our title. Guys, we did look at multi-line text, but we didn't look at placing multi-line text at a specific height. You may have to practice this a little bit. This will be the only assignment for this week, so you can get in there and work on it and practice it. And I think there's still a handful of people that are downloading the software or getting the software through the server. So let's go ahead and click on multi-line text. You'll see that it's a lot bigger. This little kind of preview that you have at the end of your pointer, you see how it's bigger than the text and the dimension? I mean, some people might be okay with that. It's because it's a title, but this might be a good opportunity to show you how to change the height. So watch your command line, right? We're going to pick for a first corner, and then we're going to stop and look at your command line because one of the options is height. So click on the word height, and if you look in your command line, you'll see that there's it says 0.2. So we want to find something that's a little bit smaller than 0.2. If we go with 0.1, that's half of it. That's going to be, even smaller. So let's try something like 0.15. So 0.15 and enter for your height. And now you can pull your mouse over and click to create this text box. Put your cap locks on and type in assignment 2, enter, and type in your name. Now we can hold your left mouse button down and drag it across assignment 2 and click on underline that's in the ribbon there, and then click in space. Now when you pull your mouse or roll the wheel of their mouse up, you can kind of see that the height is decent. We'll just go with the 0.125. Here I can click on it and hold my left mouse button down and drag it over if I need to center it. And then the last thing that we'll do is set up for printing. We can go up to the printer plotter right there icon. We did this in the first assignment. Great practice, I think, to print. You can change the printer plotter name to AutoCAD PDF high quality print. And I think, yeah, for this class we are going to create here all of our PDFs. It's great to have as a good way of building your portfolio, because then you can print them at any time. You can go to AutoCAD PDF. We can use the default ANSI A 8.5 by 11, but where it says plot area, what to plot, we want to change that to window. It should throw us into the drawing, and at this point we're clicking and letting go, and we're pulling our mouse across to kind of like create the sheet of paper or create the space equally around it. I'm going to go ahead and click. And now if I put a check mark and center the plot at the bottom left, I'll come up to the top right, drop the list down where it says plot style table pen assignments, and click on monochrome CTB. I'll pick yes to assign it to all the layouts. And then for sure I want to pick apply to layout. This one is going to fit to the paper. So I'll pick apply to layout and always preview. Always preview to make sure that everything looks good. If you roll your wheel up a little closer, you'll see that the line weight is good. The hidden lines are good. Hey guys, if you see that some of your objects are not appearing, it's happened to a couple students last semester, go back to your layers and make sure that your layer is not on a layer called def points, and also that your layer is not a no plot layer. I should show you that real quick. So this, if it all looks good, you can then right click and pick plot. Navigate over to the folder that you're saving these in, and then at that point you can use the default, if you'd like, assignment 2 model, or name it whatever you'd like, and pick save so that you can have that PDF to submit both the DWG drawing file and the PDF, and then you'll have it for your reference also. There it is. Hey guys, you can hold your control key, inside your PDF. If you hold your control key and you roll the wheel of your mouse, it's kind of cool. I didn't just discovered that not too long ago. You can zoom here a little bit better. I think the line weights look good. If you notice that any of your dimensions are really bold, then they're not on the right layer, right? And let's go back to layer for a minute. Underneath layers here, in fact, click on layer properties. This is what could happen. When you place dimensions, you will automatically get a layer called def points. That is an AutoCAD created file or layer, and that layer holds these little points that are at the end of your dimensions and kind of like defines where the extension lines start. But if you notice, the little plotter is grayed out. So if you have any objects that are on that def points layer, you need to move them off that, or else you'll see them in the drawing, but they won't print. The other thing that could happen is one of these printers could have like this little red dot next to it, and that would also not print. So make sure you kind of double check that. To move a layer to the right, an object to the right layer, you click on it once, you come over to the drop down, and you just pick which layer you want it to go on. So you see that one's hidden, so it changes its graphics automatically because these are using the layer settings. Okay, and then you can use your escape key to get rid of the grips. So there it is, assignment 2. We picked up a lot of things. We looked at offset, we looked at trim, we used center marks. We also discovered and started to look at scale factors, which we'll be working with more as we work with metric drawings and also with floor plans. We use the LT scale to set the line type scale as being a little bit smaller. We also used the fit tab to change the dimensions to the overall scale to something smaller, and then we used here the nested option for height to change the height of the text. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. We're moving forward and picking up new tools each week that you can add to your palette, and I am here to help you, so please contact me if you need any help.